There were nights I couldn't sleep, not because I was anxious, but because my dream was too loud. It didn't let me rest. It burned inside me like fire. And you know what? That fire is sacred. It's your inner energy, your invisible engine, your most powerful weapon when you have no money, no support, no clear path. When you're poor, if you have a dream, you never feel poor. That dream gives you dignity, direction, and strength. Dreams are fragile at first, like candles in a storm, but if you protect them, feed them with positive thinking and daily effort, they grow into flames that light your entire future. I've seen people abandon their goals because the road looked too steep. But the truth is, it's not the dream that is impossible. It's the lack of belief that kills it. Goal setting isn't enough if you don't feed the dream with obsession and persistence. During the early days of Alibaba, I had no business background. I was a teacher, not a tech expert, but I had a vision to use the internet to empower small businesses in China. People laughed, said it was too ambitious, but I kept going because I saw what they couldn't. The power of visualization, the beauty of possibility. If I had stopped dreaming, Alibaba would never exist today. I often compare dreams to plants. If you stop watering them, they wither. Not because they're weak, but because you abandon them. Self-improvement begins when you decide your dream deserves your full effort. It's not about immediate results. It's about relentless consistency. Keep that dream alive. Because in the next step of your journey, you'll face something even more dangerous than failure: the temptation to complain instead of create. When I was young, I spent too much time comparing myself to others. He had better English. She had a better degree. They had more money, better opportunities. I could have complained for hours. But then I realized something shocking. While I was complaining, others were building. I wasn't just wasting time. I was handing my future over to excuses. From that moment, I made a decision that changed everything. I would never waste my energy on complaints again. You see, complaining is a trap disguised as comfort. It feels good to say it's not fair, but it changes nothing. If you want to be a leader, you must become a solution seeker. That's where self-discipline begins. Not in ambition, but in responsibility. While others pointed fingers, I picked up the pieces. I told myself, if I want to catch the rabbit, don't change the rabbit. Change myself. And that became a rule I lived by. The moment I stopped complaining, I started seeing opportunities where others saw problems. Every time someone said, "This can't be done," I asked, "How can we make it happen?" When I heard, "There's no infrastructure," I said, "Perfect, we'll build one." Alibaba wasn't born in comfort, it was built on problems. Each complaint we heard from customers, small businesses, even competitors, we turned into a product, a service, a breakthrough. I believe this is what separates dreamers from doers. Dreamers wait for the world to change. Doers become the change. Productivity tips, success habits, and time management strategies mean nothing if your mindset is still stuck in blame. You want to be powerful? Stop asking who's at fault and start asking, what can I do right now? That's how self-awareness grows, not through books, but through bold decisions. And as I would soon learn, one movie would show me how to face the unpredictable nature of life without ever losing faith. One night, after a long day of failures, I sat down to rest my mind. I turned on the TV, not expecting anything special, but what I found changed how I saw everything. Forrest Gump, a movie that didn't talk about business, money, or technology, but taught me more about mental resilience, emotional intelligence, and self-belief than any leadership book ever did. His mother's words echoed in my mind. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. That line was more than just a clever metaphor. It was a philosophy. I realized that uncertainty is not the enemy. It's the companion of every dreamer. Forrest didn't overthink, he didn't complain, he ran, he tried, he loved, he failed, and he kept moving forward. Watching him, I saw something I had forgotten. You don't need to be the smartest, fastest, or strongest. You just need to keep going, with faith in your heart and purpose in your steps. In the business world, people often obsess over KPI, productivity tips, and time management. But what about courage? What about the ability to act without guarantees? Forrest didn't have a strategy. He had willpower. And that's what kept Alibaba alive in the early years. There were days we didn't know if we'd make it through the month. But like Forrest, we just kept running. And somehow, one step led to another and another until we had a path beneath our feet. That movie taught me to embrace the unknown, to trust the process, to lead with heart. It reminded me that success doesn't follow a script, it follows belief. And as I reflected on those lessons, I began to see a new danger emerging for entrepreneurs: the obsession with numbers over purpose. The dream wasn't supposed to be about metrics, it was about meaning. And that would lead me to an insight most people ignore. The soul of a business isn't in the report, it's in the reason why it was born. I've sat in rooms where people only talked numbers, conversion rates, margins, growth charts. I listened, I nodded, but deep inside I wondered, where did the dream go? Metrics are important, yes, but they are not the reason we start. They are a result. I've seen startups die because they were obsessed with numbers and forgot their mission. They chased KPIs but lost their soul. In Alibaba's early days, we didn't talk about profits, we talked about people, about purpose. You see, KPI is for machines, but humans need a reason to wake up every morning. That reason is not in Excel spreadsheets, it's in self-belief and personal growth. I once told my team, we are not here to be the biggest, we are here to be the most helpful. That's what gave our mission energy, what fueled our self-discipline, what kept us strong when the data looked discouraging. The dream is what moves people when results don't. Many entrepreneurs confuse activity with impact. They chase numbers, thinking success is measured in revenue, but empowerment is a different currency. I've seen small teams with no funding outperform giants because they had belief, clarity, and heart. That's why I say the dream is the KPI of the soul. If you lose sight of that, your business may grow, but your spirit will shrink, and no report can fix that. Today, people ask me how to measure success. I say, count how many lives you've touched, how many small businesses you've helped, how many people feel stronger because you existed. That's your real data. That's your legacy. Because in the next phase of any journey, especially in business, you'll have to decide, will you chase everything or will you focus on what truly matters? That decision defines not just your strategy, but your destiny. In the early days of my journey, I was full of ideas, too many. I wanted to build this, launch that, explore everything. Until one day I heard a saying that changed my life. If there are 9 rabbits on the field and you try to catch them all, you'll catch none. It hit me like lightning. I realized I was spreading my energy too thin. The secret to real productivity and life transformation is not doing more. It's focusing better. Focus is like a magnifying glass. When the sun hits it at the right angle, it can start a fire. But without alignment, it's just light. That's what most people don't understand. Goal setting without focus is just daydreaming. I had to choose one rabbit. For me, that was building a platform to help small businesses in China. That was my obsession. And once I focused, the results exploded. Not because I worked harder, but because I worked smarter. People often say they're overwhelmed. They feel lost, distracted, pulled in too many directions. I get it. But that's not a time problem, it's a priority problem. When you commit to one thing deeply and completely, you activate a power most people never tap into. Self-discipline combined with purpose. That's when your actions start compounding. That's when you stop spinning and start moving forward with clarity. I used to say this to my team. Don't run after everything. Choose the Coelho and don't stop until you catch it. In business, in life, in personal growth, simplicity wins. Not because it's easier, but because it's sharper. So the next time you feel lost, don't add more to your plate. Remove the noise. Pick your dream. Commit to it. Because in the next chapter, I'll show you what happens when that single dream becomes a mission, and how that mission, shared by a few believers, can change the world. It all started in a small apartment in Hangzhou. 18 people, 1 internet connection, no money, no business plan that made sense to investors. But we had something they didn't. Faith. Not in the market, not in luck, but in a dream. A dream that never changed. We wanted to use the internet to help the underdogs. The young, the small business owners, the women who had no voice in the economy. That dream wasn't a slogan. It was our oxygen. People called us crazy, said we didn't understand business, and maybe they were right. By traditional standards, we didn't. But we understood something deeper: self-belief. We knew that empowerment starts with one thing: the ability to imagine a better future and take daily steps toward it. While the world chased unicorns and billion-dollar exits, we focused on real people, real needs, real impact. That focus gave us strength even when our systems crashed or we couldn't pay salaries on time. That dream kept us aligned. Through rejections, technical failures, and government skepticism, we returned to one question: does this serve our mission? It became our compass, not profit margins, not competition. Our dream was bigger than us, and that gave it power. A dream that serves only you is too small, but one that lifts others, that kind of dream becomes unstoppable. That's the difference between building a business and building a movement. Even now, after all the growth, IPOs, and global expansion, that dream still beats at the heart of Alibaba. It's our true KPI, the foundation of our growth mindset. And here's what I learned. When your dream is clear and doesn't change, the world eventually adjusts around it. People join, support comes, but it all starts with consistency. And just when we thought we had found our rhythm, we hit a new challenge: how to build something that didn't even exist yet. In 1999, China had no payment gateways, no reliable logistics, no trust in online shopping. So naturally, everyone told me, "Jack, this will never work." But that's exactly why I believed it would. If everything already existed, there'd be no space for us. That's what entrepreneurs often miss. The absence of infrastructure is not a barrier, it's an invitation. When you see a blank canvas, don't wait for someone to start painting. Pick up the brush and create the future yourself. We didn't have a playbook. No case study matched our situation. We were building from zero. So instead of waiting for solutions, we became the solution. When people asked, "Where's the payment system?" we built Alipay. They said, "There's no logistics." So we partnered with small delivery teams and built a network from scratch. Each problem was a project. Each gap was an opportunity. That's personal growth through action, not theory. People think innovation is about technology. It's not. It's about mindset, about self-discipline to act when others hesitate, about seeing obstacles not as roadblocks, but as raw materials. That's how we developed a success mindset, by choosing to see what could be, not just what was missing. And yes, it was hard. It was chaotic. But it was also the most fulfilling work of our lives, because we weren't copying anyone. We were creating something that had never existed before. And that's the true role of the entrepreneur: to build bridges where others see cliffs, to create structure where others only see emptiness. Continuous learning, emotional intelligence, resilience, these aren't soft skills. They are the building tools of impossible visions. So the next time you hear, "There's no way," smile. That's your sign. The world doesn't need another follower. It needs someone brave enough to create the way. And that lesson would soon deepen when pain, not innovation, became my greatest teacher. They laughed when I failed my college entrance exams twice. They shook their heads when KFC rejected me. Out of 24 applicants, I was the only one who didn't make it. I didn't even get a job at the police department. But I look back now and smile, because those rejections were my greatest teachers. Failure didn't break me. It built me. It gave me something no university ever could: resilience and an unstoppable belief in my potential. I used to walk home wondering if I was just not good enough. But slowly I realized something powerful. Rejection is not the end. It's a redirection. Every time I fell, it was like the earth was whispering, "Dig deeper." I learned to turn pain into perspective, setbacks into strategy. Personal development begins where comfort ends. And trust me, discomfort was my closest companion for years. Rejection taught me the ultimate secret of self-discipline: not letting others define my worth. I started to build my own path, brick by brick, using the stones thrown at me. I didn't have money, influence, or connections, but I had one thing most people overlooked: willpower. And as I transformed failure into growth, I also discovered something else: that gratitude could be my greatest strength. Gratitude not for success, but for struggle. That's why today I say with pride, the best thing that ever happened to me was not being accepted, because it forced me to grow, to adapt, to lead. Success doesn't begin when you're applauded. It begins the moment you refuse to give up. And as you'll see in what comes next, rejection is not just a lesson, it's a filter that separates the dreamers from the doers. I remember clearly when I applied to Harvard, not once, but 10 times, and every time I was politely told no. I applied to dozens of jobs from waitstaff to city roles. None of them picked me. Even when I gathered 24 friends to apply for KFC, 23 were hired. Guess who was left behind? Me. At first it hurt deeply, but over time I realized rejection wasn't personal. It was a mirror, and the reflection showed me how much I still needed to evolve. People often think that success is about being accepted, but in my journey, success began when I stopped expecting to be chosen and started choosing myself. The truth is, no one owes you anything. No investor, no company, no mentor. That was a hard lesson. But once I embraced that truth, I began to focus not on what others could give me, but what I could build on my own. Self-awareness grew in the silence of rejection, and that's where transformation truly began. I used to ask myself, why won't anyone help me? Then one day, the answer hit me. If not now, when? If not me, who? That phrase became my inner compass. I stopped blaming others. Instead, I built mental resilience. I realized the power of personal growth lies in how we respond to disappointment. Rejection doesn't mean you're worthless. It means life is asking you to become stronger, smarter, more focused. It's not a punishment, it's a push. Rejection filters the uncommitted. It's life's way of asking, do you really want this? Because if you quit at the first no, you were never serious. But if you keep going, adapting, and improving, you'll outlast everyone who was initially accepted. That's how success habits are formed, through daily self-discipline and relentless focus. So the next time life says no, don't see it as a wall. See it as a checkpoint. Ask yourself, what must I change? What must I learn? Who must I become? Because the next chapter doesn't start until you decide that rejection is not your story's end. It's just the turning of a page. Most people love reading success stories, the rise to fame, the glory, the celebration. But do you know what I find more powerful? Failure stories, the ones nobody talks about. The chapters edited out of autobiographies, the late nights filled with fear, the empty rooms, the missed calls, the failed deals. Because personal growth doesn't live in applause, it lives in silence. And that silence is where true self-awareness is born. When I started Alibaba, people thought I was insane. There was no infrastructure in China for e-commerce, no internet penetration, no payment system, no logistics. But I didn't find the solution in a how to succeed manual. I found it in my own trial and error. In fact, I often say, if you want to grow, read stories of failure. You'll find honesty there. You'll find humanity. You'll see the blueprint not of how to succeed easily, but how to keep going when nothing works. Success stories are polished. They sell a dream, but behind every dream is a pile of broken plans. It's in those failures that emotional intelligence is forged. Because the truth is, you learn more from one mistake than from 10 achievements. A business plan doesn't prepare you for betrayal. A strategy can't teach you how to stay optimistic when your team loses faith. Only resilience and mental strength can carry you through that. If you're only looking for shortcuts, you'll miss the treasure buried in your own story. Growth is not about following a script, it's about writing your own. And that script must include struggle, doubt, and even collapse. That's where your success mindset is tested. That's when daily improvement becomes your only path forward. And soon you'll realize that the most powerful story is the one you're still writing. I remember standing in my small apartment in Hangzhou with a whiteboard, a cheap marker, and 17 friends who didn't fully understand what we were building. But we had one thing in common: we refused to quit. For every door that shut, we knocked again. For every investor that said no, we said thank you and moved forward. Persistence wasn't optional, it was our only currency. And when you have nothing, willpower development becomes everything. People often ask me what made Alibaba succeed. Was it the idea, the market, the timing? None of those. It was the ability to continue when it would have been easier to stop, to keep moving when every sign said turn back. The truth is, the difference between those who win and those who don't isn't talent. It's resistance to giving up. Because success isn't a finish line, it's a battle of endurance. We didn't have resources, but we had a reason. And that reason gave us energy. When your dream is strong enough, it fuels your self-discipline, sharpens your focus, and pushes you beyond fear. That's how personal development works. It starts when comfort ends. I remember thinking, if I give up now, how will I explain this to my children one day? That thought kept me moving, one step, one challenge, one risk at a time. Many people look for motivation in books, seminars, and videos, but sometimes the greatest motivation is simply survival. Knowing that quitting would mean accepting a version of yourself you no longer believe in. So I chose to fight, and I discovered that each rejection, each failure, was just a layer being peeled off, revealing who I truly was becoming. And who I was becoming would soon face a new test: how to keep the dream alive in the darkest of nights. Pain has a language of its own. It speaks in silence. It teaches through struggle. And unlike success, it doesn't flatter your ego, it confronts it. In the darkest moments of building Alibaba, I didn't learn from books or advisors. I learned from failure, from broken deals, from sleepless nights when I doubted everything. When things fell apart, that's when I started to truly understand myself. That's when self-awareness became real. Not a theory, but a survival tool. We lost funding. Our servers crashed. Our team shrank. I questioned whether I was leading them into a dream or a disaster. But it was exactly there, in the middle of pain, that something powerful happened. The noise disappeared. All that was left was clarity. Pain strips away distractions. It purifies purpose. It shows you what really matters. Gratitude practices, I found, were not about being thankful only when things go right, but especially when they go wrong. The world respects those who rise after they fall, but it rarely talks about how much it hurts to hit the ground. The embarrassment, the self-doubt, the fear. Yet, pain is the only teacher that never lies. It forces mental resilience. It shapes your character. You can't skip that part of the journey. You must pass through it. And when you do, something shifts inside you. You stop fearing failure and start trusting your ability to rise. I tell entrepreneurs this: don't avoid pain, lean into it. It has something to teach you that success never will. You'll find wisdom in your wounds. You'll grow roots during storms. And as painful as it is, it's in that discomfort that your foundation is built. A foundation strong enough to support the next phase of your mission. Because when others quit, the one who persists through pain becomes unstoppable. And what kept me moving forward wasn't perfection. It was faith. Faith in what came next. The beauty hidden in never giving up. People often ask me, "Jack, how did you know it would work?" The truth is, I didn't. I had no guarantee, no promise of success. I just knew that giving up would hurt more than failing. That's what persistence really is. Not blind optimism, but faith in motion. You don't persist because you're sure of the outcome. You persist because your mission is too important to abandon. And that's when self-discipline becomes your daily ritual. There were moments when even my own team didn't believe in the vision anymore. When I had to stand alone, with nothing but a tired voice and a worn-out heart. But I kept going. Not because I had all the answers, but because stopping meant betraying everything we had already sacrificed. You see, resilience is not loud. It's quiet. It shows up when no one's watching. It whispers just one more step, and those small steps compound into miracles. I used to say, persisting is not stubbornness, it's strategy. It's how you convert failure into wisdom. It's how you stretch your limits until they become your new baseline. That's why daily improvement is more powerful than occasional brilliance. I didn't build Alibaba by being the smartest. I built it by showing up when it hurt, by learning through pain, by trusting that if we keep walking, the path will appear. And here's the most beautiful part of persistence. It attracts the right people. When others see you standing firm despite the storm, they are drawn to your fire. Not because of what you've achieved, but because of what you've endured. That's the essence of personal development and growth mindset. You evolve not by chasing success, but by becoming the kind of person who can carry it. And when you shift from chasing success to serving others, your persistence becomes something even greater. It becomes purpose. When people think of success, they imagine money, status, or fame. But for me, the real success began when I saw the impact of our work on ordinary people. The young entrepreneur in a small Chinese village selling her crafts online. The single mother using e-commerce to support her family. The factory worker who became a business owner. These stories are not side effects of success. They are the reason we started. Empowerment isn't an outcome, it's a mission. I realized early on that if we wanted Alibaba to thrive, it couldn't be just about us. It had to be about the millions who believed they had no chance. Our mission became clear: to make it easy for anyone, anywhere to do business. Not just the powerful, not just the connected, but the ones who had been ignored for too long. That purpose infused our work with energy, focus, and gratitude. And as I've always believed, when you serve others, success follows. This is why I tell entrepreneurs, don't chase money, chase meaning. The greatest business model is built on helping others grow. That's where emotional intelligence meets leadership. When you stop asking, what can I get, and start asking, what can I give, you open the door to real influence. Because money can buy comfort, but impact creates legacy. The more people you uplift, the more the world opens for you. Even today, I measure success not by our market value, but by the dreams we've helped ignite. Self-discipline, personal development, and success habits are important, yes, but they must serve something bigger than yourself. That's the secret. Serve others with sincerity, and the world will reward you in ways you never imagined. And now that you've walked this journey with me through failure, persistence, and purpose, the real question is, what will you do with the power you've just discovered?
Few moments in the digital world feel as electrifying as the one just delivered by Jack Ma. In a rare and brutally honest reflection, the founder of Alibaba stripped away the myths of success and exposed the raw truth behind every triumph he ever earned. This wasn't a talk about achievements. It was about rejections, failures, and the relentless mindset that turned each no into a stepping stone for a global empire. From Harvard rejections to KFC denial, from empty pockets to billion-dollar visions, Jack Ma didn't inspire. He awakened. In this unforgettable presentation, Jack Ma shared how gratitude for failure became the fuel for his resilience, and why rejection is the best mentor you'll ever have. He didn't sugarcoat the path. He showed the audience how self-discipline, self-awareness, and willpower development aren't just traits, they're survival skills. He challenged the obsession with instant results, warning against the illusion of success stories that never mention the suffering behind the scenes. He reminded us that dreams are not decorative, they are powerful forces, like fire, and if we stop feeding them, they die. Jack Ma revealed the secret to self-belief. Not waiting for permission, not asking for validation, but creating a mission so clear that even failure becomes fuel. And in a world obsessed with data, he boldly stated, "The dream is the KPI of the soul." From unforgettable metaphors like chasing one rabbit, to lessons from Forrest Gump, to building infrastructure from scratch in a system that didn't believe in him. Every word was a masterclass in personal development, mental resilience, and continuous learning. He challenged the idea that pain should be avoided, and instead declared, pain is the best professor, because it never lies. If you've ever felt stuck, distracted, rejected, or simply unsure of your next move, this video holds the map. Jack Ma didn't come to motivate, he came to transform your thinking. And the question he leaves behind is one you will carry with you. If not now, when? If not you, who? Now that you've heard the real story, not the polished headlines, but the painful, human, transformative truth, what will you do differently starting today? Are you still going to fear rejection, or will you use it as fuel? Will you keep chasing distractions, or will you focus on that one dream that won't let you sleep at night? This wasn't just another success story. It was a blueprint for personal growth, resilience, and goal setting that anyone can follow, no matter your background, no matter your bank account. The only requirement is a decision to stop waiting and start building, to stop complaining and start empowering. Because as Jack Ma showed, you don't need perfect timing, you need self-discipline and a heart on fire. What part of this journey hit you the hardest? Was it the failures, the persistence, or the reminder that your dream is your true KPI? Leave a comment below, sharing what impacted you most. Your insight might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if this message lit a spark inside you, don't lose it. Watch this again anytime you need to remember who you really are and what you're capable of becoming. But before you go, hit that subscribe button. Seriously, if you don't subscribe now, this video might disappear into the algorithm and you'll never find it again. Turn on the notifications too, so you never miss another wake-up call like this. And don't stop here. Click on the next video appearing on your screen now. There's more to this journey. You've just taken the first step. Keep going.